Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Safa and today I'm going to be doing my most anticipated reads of 2022. This video will generally be divided into two different sections. A will be my most anticipated releases coming out this year, as well as books that I want to read this year that I clearly didn't finish last year, so I'm adding it to my TBR this year. So this video will not contain spoilers, but I will probably mention like brief synopses about the main series and general themes in it and like my emotions from like the previous book and just general things like that. So the first anticipated release coming out that I am literally so excited for is The War of the Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It is book 4 of the From Blood and Ash series, and I'm heartbroken. Like literally, I'm not crying. You're crying, okay? We're all crying. I'm sobbing. It was so sad the way it left off, but in almost the best way possible, because what happened really set the stone for Poppy, the main character, to really strengthen her inner personality and how tough she can be based on what happened. And you can only see like so many more badass moments probably leading up and developing in the next book coming out, which I'm so excited for, especially like what she did at the end. Love that. She is one of my favorite female characters because of like her growth, the badass moments, amazing. The next book on this list that I'm really excited for this year to come out is Kingdom of the Wicked #3, which is called Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. And if you haven't heard about it, it's basically this urban fantasy romancy type book series that involves a witch named Amelia. Her twin sister was just murdered and she wants to figure out, you know, who caused this, why is she dead, all these things in the air. And she enlists the help of technically her mortal enemy, the demon Prince Wrath, to help her out solve this mystery, and they kind of form this bond together. It's really cute. And based on where the second book left off, if you didn't know, I made a highly extensive review on it. A lot of feelings were let out. Go check it out. But anyway, where it left off, there was a lot of emotions going on. We definitely saw a lot more of Wrath in more ways than one. It was amazing. I felt like Carrie really did explore who Wrath was. Food in that book, in the series in general, was just amazing. It makes you hungry. So going into their series, always eat something or else you're going to be starving. I just love the romance. It was completely amped up. The next book on this list of anticipated releases is Once Upon a Broken Heart #2. Based on where it left off, we have a major cliffhanger about Chaks and Evangeline. Not very surprising because Chaks is our favorite morally gray character. He's amazing. We love him. But, you know, buddy, you gotta work on this here. Like, I was starting to trust you more and you broke that. But I still love you. Like, how can you do this to me? How can you do this to us? Like, Chaks is just a fun character to read about. And knowing in the next book that we see a lot more of his, I think, his past and why he is the way he is, why he's always like making these deals at everyone else's expense but his and like only benefiting from it. It's just exciting to see how this whole mystery behind legend is really tied to him and Evangeline and how they're both involved in this. And just to see it go more in depth is something really interesting. And Stephanie in general is like one of my favorite authors. I love her writing style. It's very whimsical, lyrical. It's very fairy tale-esque. And it has like these mini dragons that are so cute that help roast these like foods. The next book on my most anticipated releases is called This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh Mafi is also famous for writing the Shatter Me series. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's Book Talk famous. I have never read it, but this one in particular spoke to me a lot because it has like this Arabian Nights Persian influence, like really inspired in the book, as well as this forbidden enemies to lovers type romance, which sounds incredible. The next book on this list is A Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo. Now, this is a Grishaverse type book. I know I'm a Grishaverse fanatic. I got all the book. If you didn't know, Demon in the Wood is basically a short story that was written about the Darkling and his past and upbringing into who he became in time for Shadow and Bone, which is like the second army general of the Rafgan army. Before this book was even in the works, I guess, Demon in the Wood was just a short story about it, but now I believe Leigh has expanded on it and just made it like a full-blown novel, which is really interesting. And honestly, who doesn't love a book about the Darkling? I know all you Malina stans are gonna be out there be like, oh, he's so toxic. Okay, I get that. But when have you ever seen like a main character shipped with the villain? It is so refreshing to see something like that. And I'm not ashamed, okay? I am not ashamed. So that kind of concludes my most anticipated releases section. So I'm gonna move on to my most anticipated reads this year, which is basically just my TBR. So the first book on this list of most anticipated reads is A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is basically a spin-off series from the From Blood and Ash world, and it's separate from the whole idea of Hawk and Poppy. So basically it features the gods Nyktos and his consort Seraphina and their journey together, and this whole idea behind the legend of them and like how they came to be together and like all these different things. So that's what I'm reading right now. I'm in page like 5 or something, 20, something like that. It's pretty good right now. It's like this adult romance feel. If you have not read From Blood and Ash, you probably wouldn't understand this because it just involves so many elements from that book. But if you are interested in this, I would suggest reading up till book 3, which is The Crown of Gilded Bones, and then jumping to this. The next book on this list is The Last Magician series by Lisa Maxwell. So far, I believe there's only 3 books out, which is The Last Magician, The Devil's Thief, and The Serpent's Curse. And it's basically involving a story about a girl who's a thief who goes to retrieve these artifacts by stealing them from these magicians or something to help save her people in some sort of way. And it's staged in Manhattan. It's a urban fantasy type enemies to lovers romance. From what I heard, it is somewhat historical fiction, and it's almost like a found family heist based themes that are incorporated in this book, which just sounds so interesting to me. The next book that I wanted to read this year is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. Now, from what I've heard and basically what I read of the synopsis, is that it's kind of like a mix between Caraval and the Night Circus, like smushed together. It involves things like a carnival themed book, which has dark magic. It has like a love triangle type thing. The next series on this list that I'm really excited to read is the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kemmer. Now, I've actually read Defy the Night, which is her newer release that came out, and that was really good. But this is like her more popular series that literally everyone knows about, and I can't wait to read it because it's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's interesting because this particular series involves a character who has a disability, and I think it's really refreshing to read about characters, especially who have disabilities. It's important to have representation in the community, and I feel like that's really good to see something like that. The next book on my most anticipated reads of 2022 is called The Bronze Beast by Rajni Chakshi. It is book 3 of the Gilded Wolves trilogy, final book. And yeah, so the very first book, The Gilded Wolves, is basically about these 4 different individuals who kind of band together to help retrieve an artifact. It's like this heist-based historical fiction, urban fantasy type story. The magic system is very complex, but as you read, it gets, you know, more understandable. The first book wasn't my favorite. The second one was so much better because the angsty, tense romance was just, I'm all for that stuff, okay? The drama is everything. You can't ask for angsty, tense romance without drama. It makes it so entertaining. And yeah, I just really excited for the way it's gonna play out in the third book because of the way it finished in the second one. That cliffhanger though, that was major. So I can't wait to read it. The next book on this list that I want to read is this book 2 of The Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This book is really interesting because when I first picked it up, it took me like a month and a half to read. But by like the last 100 pages, I was fully invested in it. It was really, really good. And I think for someone who's like pretty new, I think it's her debut novel, it was really, really well done. It's basically like this historical fiction, high fantasy type story where it's kind of intertwining West African folklore, which is something really refreshing because I've never read anything like that before. And just seeing culture really influenced the novel was something really interesting to see. The cliffhanger at the end really killed me. There is like an enemies to lovers romance going on. It's forbidden, and the magic is really dark and intense, and like it's just really set up for a really good final and second book, in my opinion. The last book on this list is another Book Talk famous book, which you've all probably heard about. It is The Puffy War by Rf Quang. Now, I purchased this back a couple months ago. I clearly didn't read it. Not ashamed of it. And The Puffy War is something I don't know. It's just something I just really wanted to read. It seems like a really good action adventure type story where you see a girl goes into, I think, a boys only like martial arts academy, if I'm getting this right. It's like a story based on war and, you know, her resilience, her determination to do well. But it also contains really strong themes that I didn't realize, but I'm kind of excited to read about because I know it's done in such a good way where it's really interesting and just really good things about this book that I've heard so many times. So I'm really excited to read that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've read any of these books or plan to read on it, let me know in the comments below. That'd be interesting. I want to hear about what you guys are reading. And I'll see you next time. Bye.